rewarding regular season and I'm sure exciting district tournaments that took place within the last 2 weeks. As Melissa said, this webinar will serve just as a meticulous review of what you can expect at the competition on May 18th at Washington College. And looking forward to hearing any questions and feedback at the end of this presentation. So without further ado, moving on to the first page. So where you see where it says schedule, schools are to arrive at 10 o'clock and opening ceremonies are to take place beginning at 10:30 a.m. and competition will start promptly at 11 o'clock a.m. It is our desire for awards to be given out starting around 3 o'clock p.m. and then departure at 4 o'clock p.m. But as it says, both of these times are tentative. There where it says location, you have the physical address of the tournament at Washington College inside of Roy Kirby Stadium at the address that you can see there. As you know, approximately 300 student athletes have advanced from various district tournaments to compete in the state championship. So again, congratulations to all of you who were able to win the gold and silver at your district tournament and have been afforded the opportunity to come and compete at our state tournament. So just a note on credentials. So as you can see here, all non-student athletes, and that includes all coaches, any team managers, instructional assistants, anyone who's volunteering, interpreting, or paraprofessional, and they're serving in any type of capacity to assist with your team or an individual student athlete, are required to have and maintain Class A clearance with Special Olympics in order to receive their credentials on May 18th at the state tournament. Those who are in compliance with the Class A clearance will have a credential available as a part of your delegation package that each team will have upon arrival. And I just want to touch on that a little bit. So hopefully by now, all volunteers have received or do have the Class A clearance. And just to clarify what's required in order to have that, you must have filled out a Class A volunteer form. It's a 3-page form, and if you haven't, you still have time to do so, but it was to be sent to Rachel Maddock, and an email went out on May 5th detailing that. If anyone needs that information at the end during the questioning time, I can, go into that further. But again, the first step in the Class A process is to fill out that form, and then the second step is to complete the protective behaviors video and quiz, which a link was provided for that as well on May 5th, and an email that went out. Again, if you missed that email, I can get you that information, but it's essential that any non-student athlete who will be present at the tournament to assist in any capacity have a Class A clearance. And again, that includes completing the Class A volunteer form and completing the protective behaviors video and quiz. If anyone needs more assistance with that, just let me know at the end and I'll be glad to assist. In terms of food service, lunches will be provided to all registered participants, so all of your student athletes who are participating and competing, and then all persons with your team, with your delegations that do receive those credentials. In addition, a concession stand will be available, and it'll be cash only. The opening ceremony, again, will begin at 10:30, and this is one of the highlights of our event because it builds the excitement. It's kind of a culminating thing. Hopefully each of you at your district tournaments had an opening ceremony, and it's something that the student athletes really look forward to, and it really sets the atmosphere for a very exciting event. There are roles that we delegate for players and or coaches to participate in, and those include being a torchbearer, and then we have an athlete recite the athlete's oath, and a coach recite the coach's oath. We do ask for nominations for these roles to be fulfilled, so anyone who you feel would be a good nominee, you can submit their information at the link provided there, the surveymonkey.com link. Awards will begin approximately at 3:15. So the way that we do it, as teams finish their participation in the tournament and as they place, they're directed to the awarding staging area and they are presented their awards. So it's a pretty efficient process, and you'll be directed on exactly where to go and how to proceed. But just want to give you a heads up that as soon as your team places for the tournament, then you can be expected to be directed to the award ceremony staging area and receive your award. So team check-in, upon arrival, and there's a map at the end, there will be a team check-in at the control center tent on the track competition level, and we ask that one coach from each team visits that control center to check in. And what that coach will do is that coach will report any scratches that his or her team has, and then they'll receive their delegation packet. We ask that all other team members, including volunteers and other coaches, proceed to the bleachers area and not congregate where the entryway is, where drop-off and pickup are located. So again, one coach from each team is to visit the control center and receive the delegation packet. All other coaches, volunteers, and student athletes, we ask not to congregate at the check-in area, but to go to the bleachers. And what we also ask is any teams that do not have any visually disabled students, to sit at a higher level seating in the stadium area, because it's easier for those individuals. So in the delegation packet, what you will find is several copies of your post-season registration forms, which basically for the tournament they serve as rosters, and those are important because you are to submit those to the scorekeeper each time your team is set to play a match. So during warm-up, before your team competes, that post-registration form is submitted to the scorekeeper and is used to verify that the student athletes who are participating are those who are located on that roster, making sure that at least 2 people with disabilities and 2 people without disabilities are participating in each match. There will be medical personnel available during the competition, and they'll be clearly identified. Usually they're somewhere near the control center, but we'll make sure that you're aware of exactly where they're located. Any medical concerns or issues that arise, they'll be there to assist you. And as it is our desire to create the best tournament that we can, we do welcome your ideas, your feedback, and your opinions. So at the conclusion of the tournament, we do appreciate if you would visit the link provided here to complete an evaluation and provide us with any suggestions or ideas and opinions on how we can better serve you and create the best tournament that we can. In terms of inclement weather, a decision could be made based on the weather to postpone the competition. In case there is inclement weather, we already have a backup date in place, which is Monday, May 22nd. And the way that we'll communicate any decisions on that is using a text message system called Nixu. We also use Twitter and a phone messaging system. If you elect to receive the text messages in this document, you'll see where you have instructions to subscribe to the service, and you just text in caps SOMD Sports to 888-777. That automatically subscribes you. and you'll be on our list to receive any messages that we disseminate before competition as well as throughout. And again, if there is inclement weather and the determination is made that the tournament will be postponed, it will be May 22nd. You can also follow Special Olympics Maryland on Twitter, and there you can receive updates. And then a third option is the phone system, where the phone number is provided there. On-site merchandise will be available for sale. We have a lot of wonderful and cool Unified Sports merchandise, and cash and credit cards are accepted. Here again is the facility address, and a map is provided, so it may be a good idea for you to print this out and have in case it can assist your bus driver. But basically, there's a team drop-off point, as you can see there, and once you are dropped off, there will be a employee from the college to direct the bus driver on where the bus parking lot is. And here's a map of the competition venue. So where you see number 2, that's where you'll come and check in. Again, only one coach is needed for that. And then across the field there, you'll see the court set up. So when you see your competition schedule in your brackets, take note of the court numbers that you'll be competing on, and maybe a good idea to sit in close proximity to them, or as close as you can. But you have this map here to help you out with that, and then you see where the concession stand and restrooms are. So in terms of points of emphasis for competitions, we will be following the 2017 Unified Outdoor Bocce Coaches Guide, so hopefully everyone has been following that throughout your competition in the regular season. And at the district tournaments, if there are any specific questions about that, please feel free to ask. Again, there's a note on Team Check-In, an important note that I did touch on earlier, but it's there in writing. And I said impaired, but I forgot to include wheelchair people. So if that's you, again, sit in higher elevated seating, just to make it easier for those who are visually impaired or have wheelchairs to be accommodated. And another note on lineup. So one thing I always want to make note of, you want everyone to have equal opportunities when it comes to rolling out the bocce ball. So of course, if your team has 8 players on it, then 4 players will line up on one side of the court, and the other 4 will line up on the other side of the court, and that makes for simple competition order. One set of 4 rolls one frame, then it alternates to the other side, and the other set of 4 competes in the subsequent frame. Just another quick reminder that each frame, though, it must have the 2 players without the disability, and then the 2 players with the disability. When it comes to teams of less than 8 players, of course, you can't have 4 and 4. So in that event, as outlined in the coach's resource guide, you would have 4 players on one side, and then the remaining number of players, whether that's 1, 2, or 3, on the other side. And then the coaches are to rotate players in a fashion that each player gets equal opportunity as their teammate. So in other words, you wouldn't have the same players rotating all of the time. So it will be a rotation basis on who rotates up and down the court.
Ryan,
if a play,
Ryan,
yes, yep.
To clarify the lineup, number 2, it actually reads, and it has been the case that the lineup needs to be in each frame, that 2 people with a disability, 1 person without a disability, and then the 4th person may or may not have a disability. So that is easily confused with the requirement that on each team you must have no less than 2 people with a disability and 2 people without a disability. So Just wanted to make sure everyone's clear on that as well. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks, Melissa.
Sure.
If a player does require accommodations, please notify staff persons upon checking in, and then make a note of it on your lineup sheet. And before each match, it's good to notify the scorekeeper and the other coach. So examples of accommodations: if you have a wheelchair athlete, and each time they enter the court, of course, a teammate can lift the end PVC pipe up to allow them to enter. If you have any visually impaired students or anything like that, verbal cues can be given to locate the palina. A bell or other sound emitting apparatus may also be used. In those cases, please make sure that coaches and or teammates are not actually coaching. They're just giving cues, such as, the ball is here or the palina is here. And as the ball is rolled, then of course, you're to step out the court as best as possible without interfering with any of the other balls. And that leads me to the competition area court access. So as you can see in the diagram, there's the court, and then there's the coach's box. Just want to remind everyone, and I'm sure everyone is familiar by now, but once a player enters the court, then that player cannot receive any coaching from a coach and or a teammate. And in most cases, the coaches have been good with this, but what I have seen are teammates not being in full compliance of this, either out of ignorance or just forgetting. So once a player steps into the court, please remind his or her teammates and yourself as coaches that that player is to not receive any instruction. And that includes if, they look to you for instruction and ask you, strategy related questions. So make sure all coaching is done before that. And again, that doesn't include what I just went over in terms of the visual cues and the verbal cues that may be given. Another note, is very important that only the registered student athletes and credentialed non-players are permitted in the competition area. So any persons that are not credentialed, such as a parent who was, spectating, they cannot be down in the competition areas. They are required to stay in the bleachers where visitors are permitted to watch. Teams are only to access the competition during the warm-ups and during their actual scheduled matches, and those time frames will be announced. In terms of violations, so violations of the coaching or coaches' boxes are as follows. The first offense warrants a warning. The second offense, the opposing team is awarded 1 point, and then on the third offense, the coach's credential is pulled and his or her access is revoked for the remaining of the tournament, in addition to the opposing team being awarded 1 point. We do want to make note that violations accrue over the span of the tournament. So, for example, if in game 1 a coach commits a violation, that coach receives a warning. In a subsequent match, if that coach receives another violation, that counts as his or her second offense. So the opposing team would be awarded a point. So the violations, again, they accrue and they do stay with you. So, please make sure you comply with the violation rules. At the completion of each match, a credential coach from each team should check the score, and if there are any doubts, that should be settled there with the scorekeeper. And then upon approval, the scorecard should be signed to verify the accuracy, and then the scorecard will be retained by the court official and submitted to tournament personnel, usually located near the check-in or at the control center. So just make sure, again, at the end of each match, the opposing team of both coaches verify the score, settle any doubts there with the scorekeeper, and then sign off that the score is accurate. In regard to uniforms, participants are required to be in school uniform for all regular season and tournament play, and it is the responsibility of myself, the tournament director, and other match officials to enforce these regulations, and the decision of the official is the final decision. So we have the uniform regulations outlined in the guide, and we included them here. Number one, most importantly, proper footwear is required. I know we're outside, but there are no open-toe shoes to include flip-flops, slippers, and also there are no boots. So make sure leading up to the competition, you inform your players that they are to wear the proper footwear or they will not be allowed to participate. In terms of headgear and other accessories, headbands, wristbands, and armbands are permissible, but they must be of a solid color. A headband can be folded as long as, again, it's a solid color. And in terms of folding it, it has to be approximately 2 inches wide. Any religious or medical related wear is also allowed and permissible. And in outdoor bocce, hats are permissible as well. In terms of uniform violations, a player may not begin play within a legal uniform. So if a player is noted to have on any type of uniform violation, then they will not be qualified to participate, and it must, that player must have that corrected in order to begin competition. The uniform violations do not apply during warm-up. So if a player wanted to warm up in something that wasn't necessarily allowed in a match, that is okay. Once the match has begun, if a uniform violation is noticed and noted, then an automatic penalty to that player of being removed from the match will be enforced, and they'll be disqualified from the event. So I know we're outside, but there are no artificial noise makers, including cowbells, thundersticks, megaphones, sirens. Any of those things, whistles, are not to be used while the competition is in progress. So on all 8 courts, each match runs concurrently. So during match play, there are no artificial noisemakers to be used during that time. Melissa, did you want to speak before we open it up? Do you want to speak about the Student Leadership Conference?
Yes, thank you. The MPSSA hosts a Student Leadership Conference. I think it's 6 or 7 years, an annual offering. Before this year, it was offered in August, before school started, so it was somewhat difficult to have student athletes attend. And they've shifted it this year to up at the end of the school year, with the hopes that registration will incline. With that, I wanted to bring it to everyone's attention. There was an email sent out when registrations opened. I think that was back in April 13th or so, that timeline. I sent an email announcement to some of our key constituents with schools, alerting them of this offering, but wanted to bring it to your attention as well. So just as the varsity football player, varsity softball player, basketball player, so on and so forth, should be viable candidates for this offering, our student athletes should be as well. And I realize that some nominations are occurring organically, but I wanted to make sure that everyone is well aware of this offering and that our student athletes should be in contention for the nominations too. As far as I know, last I heard, each school was afforded 5 student athletes to attend, so that's very generous considering the number of schools that are eligible in the state. So please do take the time to speak with your athletics director, your district representative, if he or she is in your school system, state office, county office, They may be able to give you some more information, but please do take a look and simply Google the MPSSA Student Leadership Conference. Like I said, the dates are there, the location, and it would be a great opportunity. I attended a couple years ago. They bring in a sports psychologist from Duke University to do the opening, and then they have various sessions as well. So it's a great opportunity. It's applicable to our folks as it would be anyone else. So please do consider some of our students who participate. I believe it's exclusive to those who are entering into their senior year, junior, or sophomore year, and certainly want to heighten our role and our attendance at this conference as well. Thank you for that. And Brian, just one additional note with regard to competition. When you spoke regarding the student managers and student athletes, please do, coaches, this tournament more than any other that we host, we commonly have students, young people who are dressed as a student athlete, as a team member, and they're in the competition venue, which is fine, but it does cause for some confusion, specifically to the tournament personnel and then as well to your opponent. So I'll give you a for instance. If you yourself are playing against a team that, as far as you can tell, you're counting 10 student athletes that you're playing against, and you only see 4 of those people roll the bocce ball, that would lead you to believe that the coach is not properly rotating their players, and some are going without opportunity. So please do, if you have young people coming, please see to it that only your student athletes who are participating are outfitted in the team uniform. Everyone looks very, very good in the district tournaments that I attended, so everyone's properly outfitted and such. But please be mindful of that when you have your team managers, even additional individuals who may have been on your second team that may not have advanced. If they're coming in support of the team, it should just be the student athletes who are competing who are outfitted in the team uniform. So I appreciate that precaution and assistance with fulfilling that request. That's all I have. Thank you, Brian. Well done. Thank you.
Thank you, Melissa. And just a quick note, very important before we open it up to questions, regarding the post-season registration forms. Because that is what we use to verify rosters, it's essential that each coach take time to verify the accuracy of what you've submitted. So by now, each of you should have received an email from myself or Melissa or your district rep asking you to verify what you sent in. Thank you to all who've responded so far. And for others, please take a moment again to verify its accuracy, because once the tournament comes, what we have on site is what will be used to verify who competes in each match. So at this time, if there are any questions, we can open it up now and take those.
I'll just take a moment to unmute everyone. If anyone is in a noisy area or does not intend to ask any questions, please self-mute either by using your pitch tone option or your phone option, or there should be a mute option through the conference call system. If you do have questions, once again, they should be good for the group. We're happy to take any questions as follow-ups, but good for the group. Please state your name, school system, and school that you're with. So with that, we'll open it up for questions. Thank you.
Hi, this is Tina Cromer with Huntingtown High School. I have a question about after a match, if any of the teammates that have rolled the balls, can they walk up to, on the side of the court and just, take a look at that, or should they be standing away, if they just kind of want to see where their teammates are rolling the ball, or do they need to actually stay right, there in the coach's box?
Oh, just to clarify, you're saying.
Yeah, just like
ahead.
if they want to kind of, one person rolls the ball and one of the other teammates wants to go and, see how close it is to the other teams. Can they do that and then, head back? Or should they, just kind of stay back?
We do want to be careful about having players on the sides of the court. So definitely during a person's roll, like they have the ball in their hand and they're rolling.
Mm-hmm.
They can't stand on the side and wait for the ball to stop to see. In terms of a strategy, if a ball is rolled, once that player exits the court, if someone needs to walk alongside the court to see, where the balls are located, or if a coach wants to, I believe, that's fine.
Okay.
Correct me if I'm wrong, Melissa.
Yeah, that's fine. We do want them to walk outside of the perimeter of the court to caution against, accidentally moving any of the balls.
Of course, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
This is Sue Snyder, Cecil County. Hi, Brian and Melissa.
Hello.
Hi, Sue.
Hi. I have a student at one of the high schools that's in a wheelchair and will need to have a changing area. She's unable to stand. Is there a changing area that will be available on the grounds?
Yes, we will make accommodations for that. This is their stadium for lacrosse. It's quite an accomplished lacrosse program. So I'm sure there is a team room of sorts. Sue, if I did see your email, I apologize I wasn't able to get back to you. If you could give some specifics, if a table is necessary, if curtaining, or if it has to be a room with facilities and such, or if just a vacant room with a table is sufficient, that's my point of reference and with handling these types of requests. I just want to make sure we're prepared and we're not trying to piece something together on site last minute.
Okay, from what I understand, a table is all that's needed.
Okay, very good. I'll take care of it from there.
Okay. Also, I have a visually impaired coach. Is she allowed to go down and look at the ball, come out of the coach's box, and look at the ball so she can give correct coaching strategy to her players?
Yes, she is able to. I would just remind her players not to step into the box not to step onto the court until she returns to give the instructions.
Okay.
Because once they're in, she's no longer allowed to give them instructions.
Absolutely, they are aware of that. Yes.
Yep.
Thank you.
No problem.
I have one other question. This is Sue Snyder again.
Okay.
When we talked about the lineup, you talked about 2 disabled children and 2 non-disabled children, and I guess I'm a little confused on that because it also states that you can have 2 disabled and then the third and fourth one will need to be disabled and one is not to be disabled. So actually, does that come out to be 3 disabled and 1 non-disabled?
Yeah, I'm glad you asked that question, Sue. It's easily confused. So
yes.
When we check in, the most fundamental point in which we will consider a team valid for the tournament, we will confirm that 2 people with a disability and 2 people without a disability at minimum are there and will compete. Within each frame of each match, our coaches, the rule change request that occurred that we heard 2 years ago and then put forth this accommodation was largely to accommodate schools that have very few, a low population and then few interest from either people with disabilities or people without. With that said, in each frame, it is 2 people with a disability, 1 person without a disability, and then the 4th person may or may not have a disability. So you are correct in saying that you could have as many as 3 people with a disability throwing in each frame.
All right.
Okay, but when they check in, they have to have at least 2 with disability and at least 2 with non-disability. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Are there any other questions? All right. Well, I would like to thank everyone for taking time out to join the webinar and listen in. In between now and the tournament, if you do have a question, please feel free to email me. Again, between now and then, you will receive a follow-up email to this webinar that will include a link to the webinar, this event guide, and any other relevant documents. Melissa, do you have anything else?
No, I would let everyone know that as the tournament draws near, Brian, myself, Special Olympics Maryland staff will have added responsibilities, and we may not be as attentive to our email as we will be out of the office and such. So I continue to urge you to use your district representative. Brian is very generous and ambitious, perhaps, in offering that he'll get back to you, and he's very good at doing that. But yet, you do have persons assigned to you in your district that should be able to answer questions in their absence, or in the case that they are not able to. Please do reach out to us and copy Brian if you would like to on those emails as well. We need to know what's going on the grassroots so that we can adequately prepare and know what's coming and how to make a better experience at the tournament. So thank you all for your commitment thus far. Once again, congratulations on your advancement. Brian, thank you for your time and effort and expertise this evening.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you all.